Additionally, the Russians are trying to compress the remnants of the Kurakov bridgehead from three sides and break through from the north towards the Zaporizhzhia-Donetsk highway in the area of Constantinople. The epicenter of the fighting in this area is currently the village of Andriivka. And, even in such a complex situation, Ukrainian defenders skillfully and precisely stop the enemy neutralizing both the personnel of the occupiers and their military equipment. How exactly this happens? Watch right now in the report from our colleagues at the television news service.
Kurakova, yes, it's ahead, but far away.
But even here, enemy drones reach. The Russians on this section of the front have started using their new development, drones on fiber optics. It's impossible to defend against them even with electronic warfare. We are now with the fighters of the 46th Separate Airmobile Brigade heading to Kurakov, a city where fierce battles were fought until recently. But our troops are forced. They had to withdraw from there, and we are traveling in an armored vehicle equipped with electronic warfare. But even this is not a guarantee that they will protect us from the Russian drones, which are very numerous here. From a bird's-eye view, the commander monitors the approaches to their positions. After the occupiers took Kurakovo, they became much calmer, fortifying themselves there.
Kurakovo is right here with us. You see, the road goes... This is the direct road to Kurakovo. This is the outskirts of Dakhnoye, the first street, and accordingly the second.
And the enemy is already there, right?
Yes, the enemy is trying to advance, but all our forces are preventing them.
And so far they are not conducting active assaults because they have no one, say the paratroopers. The 46th has wiped out 6 Russian units in the battles for the city.
They have exhausted their forces and means resources, as strange as it may sound.
Well, now the positions of the paratroopers are surrounded on 3 sides by Russian positions. This is shown by Deep State. Our troops are not leaving the dominant heights on the approaches to Kurakove, and they are confident that as soon as the Russians recover, even a little after the battles for the city, they will want to take them under their control.
That is, if they reach this height, they can freely operate with aerial reconnaissance means. Strike drones, of which they have many more. And then they will simply cut off our logistics, all approaches, evacuation, and everything.
Therefore, the current task is not to let the Russians even stick their heads out of the trenches. They are destroying Russian soldiers. Even when they are just trying to reach their positions, like right now, the drone camera spotted 2 of them. They are moving too freely on our land, says the commander, and gives the order to correct this.
You see them now, right? So that we can move to another small traditional one? No, they have entered right here.
The strike drone pilots are already set to work. As soon as they notice movement, the drone immediately delivers a hellish gift there. Or an FPV flies there. Here, the main thing is not only to cover your infantry so that the enemy doesn't get close, but also to prevent the occupiers from gathering, because then they start the assault.
They are currently moving in small groups, 2 soldiers at a time. They simply have gathering points, and from there they move further. They were moving in pairs. One fell in the reeds, and that's where he lies. Something went wrong. For him...
2 occupiers have been eliminated. This section of the front remained unchanged today. But the fighters of the 46th hope to hold the flanks because if it weren't for them, Kurakov would also be holding on. The Russians have long since changed tactics and are not attacking head-on, but are trying to bypass our forces from the sides. Therefore, the enemy has become more active in the neighboring village of Zelenovka, and even achieved partial success, because they aim to push our forces out of the Dakhnaya, Ulakli, and Constantinople areas, and gain control over the highway. Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia.
But let's return to the situation in Pokrovsky. Drones against the civilian population. The occupiers are attacking the cars of Pokrovsk civilians with drones. For this, they are using new port fiber optic UAVs. The fact is, they cannot be jammed by electronic warfare. Forced evacuation from the city continues. The Donbas police say they have already evacuated all the children, but there are still 7,000 people remaining in Pokrovsk. TSN special correspondent Yulia Kirienko will provide more details about this life on the edge of death.
FPV, Zala Orlans, Mavics. They emit a characteristic sound signal and warn us of danger.
Police officer Gennady launches a drone analyzer, turns on the electronic warfare system, which is supposed to protect us from enemy drones, and we enter Pokrovsk to pick up locals who have agreed to evacuate. The city greets us with empty and artillery-damaged streets and wrecked cars on both sides of the road. Here is an overturned armored Ukropochta vehicle which was attacked by a Russian drone. The people survived, but the vehicle remains overturned. It was a drone strike using fiber optics. A new development by the Russians, says the police officer. Even though we have all sorts of electronic protection means, in the car they are turned on, the only salvation from them is a hunting rifle, which Gennady keeps at hand.
Loaded with Baslevsky's shot cartridges.
It is loaded with hunting cartridges, regular lead shot for hare, for duck.
And for enemy drones?
Yes, and for enemy drones as well?
The police are hitting the brakes. We have an unscheduled stop. The wheel caught a shard. Our mission to evacuate civilians is at risk of failing. And we are at risk of becoming a target for an enemy drone. The destroyed house is probably the most recognizable place in Pokrovsk now. The cannonade still hasn't stopped here. Do you hear how the explosions echo on the horizon? But there are still civilians remaining in the city. The drone analyzer on Gennady's wrist keeps beeping, alerting us that the sky above us is not clear. That's why the policeman and his partner are fixing the punctured tire even faster. We get back into the car and take a passerby from the street with us. The woman wants to leave Pokrovsky. The water has stopped. Well, how will you manage from here? But on the way, the woman changed her mind. She asked to be taken to the market. There's a store open here. There is still bread available, a few groceries and quite a few locals who don't want to leave. The children and grandchildren have left. There is no work. Where should we go? It's so cold. Gennady writes his phone number at the entrance. From here, we take the woman away from the shelling. Her apartment is in a 5-story building with a view of the occupied Selidovo. This is the most dangerous neighborhood, Pokrovsk.
Raisa Ivanovna, well, the most important thing, did you take the documents and phone?
The next stop is the private sector. But getting into the right yard isn't easy at first. The city's topography is constantly changing due to the shelling, and the road that was passable yesterday is now blocked by trees.
We are heading to the main road of the area. We are heading onto the main road of the city. That side leads to Donetsk, Selidovo, and that one to Dnipro. That side leads to Dnipro.
We finally reach the house we need. The sound of the horn once again interrupts the buzzing of the drone analyzer. We hear flights in the sky in the PVM, but we manage to pick up Victor and our armored vehicle. He agreed to leave, but he doesn't know where he will spend the night.
Daughter! My daughter and son-in-law serve in the armed forces of Ukraine, but I had a falling out with them over my grandson. And my grandson is staying with my wife's grandmother in Vinnytsia. Yes, why would I go to her? I don't talk to her either.
As we enter from Pokrovsk, another passenger unexpectedly joins us. Doggy Woggy, are you coming with us? Why are you feeding it? Don't go out. What did you say? That it's not ours after all? Yes. All right. Then we'll take it. Let's go. To deserve salvation, to deserve salvation. Everyone deserves salvation, both people and animals. We just picked up a huge alibi from the street. A kind dog. Hello? Hello? Oh, what a good boy you are. And so in a tight squeeze, we head to the neighboring village. Here, a volunteer bus is waiting to take civilians to the shelter.
Today we have a trip to Pavlograd, where other humanitarian mission staff will process documents for people and find out where to evacuate them next. Further...
But the volunteers can't take the dog, so Gennady removes the strap from a hunting rifle, which then becomes a collar for the alibi. He leaves the dog in the evacuation bus. Where are we taking him now? Are we taking him with us, or are you taking him with you? Yes, I'll take him with me. The civilians and the dog are not the only things the White Angels took out of Pokrovsky. In the trunk, there's a large bag, and inside it, a giant flag that was flown over the city during holidays. It survived the shelling.
We drive in under explosions. We drive in under FPV drones in our armored vehicle. We entered the building where it was stored and took it out. Today we will hand it over to the military administration of Pokrovsk.
50 meters, the Ukrainian flag from Pokrovsk itself. The day before, it was taken out by the White Angels, saved from the city. Now, they will preserve it to later unfurl during the victory in our city of Pokrovsk.